Hi guys, welcome back to the session. Today we will create a UiPath project which will send us notifications for COVID vaccine appointment availability. So let's get started. For the today's project, I'm going to use COVID public APIs available on this website. Now in this website, multiple of APIs are listed for user authentication APIs, metadata APIs, appointment availability APIs, and so on. Now under this appointment availability APIs, you can search for COVID vaccine appointments either by PIN, district, latitude, longitude, and so on. Let's go with the first one, that is find by PIN, and let's try out this API. Now here we'll have to provide some details. First one is the header, that is accept language, which I will provide as ENUS. Then let's provide a valid PIN code, say 201301, and let's provide a date here. So I will provide the date and hit on execute. So with this we get the response as a curl command, where this is the request URL, these are the two headers, and this is a get method. So with this complete information, let's begin to build our project. Now in our project, in our UiPath project, first of all I'm going to execute this request URL. So how to do that? So for that we'll have to add an activity here, that is HTTP request, for which you'll have to install a package. So move to manage packages, all packages, and search for UiPath.WebAPI.activities package. So if you have this package installed, well and good. If you do not have, select this one and hit on install and save this one. So the package has been installed. Move to activities and search for this HTTP request activity. This is the HTTP request activity. Let's add it here. Here we'll have to provide few details. In the endpoint, we will provide this request URL. So let me take this request URL from here and let's provide it in the endpoint. Next, from this curl command, we know that this is a get method. So I'll go with this request method as get. And next, under the parameters, we'll use this add header, where we will provide the header. So the first header in this one is called accept. So I will provide here the name as accept, and its value will be application JSON. So the similar I will provide here. Next, let's hit add header again, and the next header with us is the accept language. So let's provide the name as accept language and its value as en_us. Let's go with this no authentication. So all the details we have provided under the request builder. Now to preview the response of this request, hit on this preview. So this is the response which we will receive from this request. Let me copy this response from here in a notepad for future reference. Now this HTTP request activity will store this complete response inside a variable. So let's click on OK, and here I'm going to create a variable inside this result. So right click over here and create the variable, say response, which is going to store the complete response. Now next thing to notice here is that this endpoint where we have provided this request URL, it is taking as of now this hard-coded pin code and date. So instead of this hard-coded pin code and date, I want to provide a variable here. So let me create the two variables, pin code and date. So inside the variables, I'm going to create the first variable as pin code. Let's provide a default value for this variable. You can also take the user input for the variables pin code and date. As of now, I'll go with the default values. So the pin code variable is created. Next, let's create the date variable, and let's provide a default value for the same. Now I'm going to use these two variables inside the endpoint. So open this endpoint, and here let's copy this one Let me put it in the next line. I'll have to edit this. So I'll remove this pin code, close the double quotes and open the double quotes for this one. And inside the plus, I'm going to use the pin code variable. Next, remove this hard-coded value date, and instead of that I'm going to use the variable, the date variable which we created. Now we are good to remove the previous endpoint, and this is our latest endpoint with the variables pin code and date. Let's click on OK. So with this, our HTTP request activity is ready, which is going to provide us this complete response. This complete response will be provided by the HTTP request. But from this complete response, we want to fetch specific details. Let's say that our requirement is to get notifications with the center names where the available capacity for dose 1 is greater than 0, for minimum age limit 45 and vaccine as Covishield. That means we'll have to fetch specific details from this complete response. So how to do that? So for that, first of all, we'll have to deserialize this response variable which is created by this HTTP request. So how to do that? For that, I'm going to use this deserialize JSON action. So let me add this deserialize JSON action, which is used to deserialize the JSON string to a JSON object. So the JSON string will be nothing but the response variable created in the previous activity. Next, we'll store the output inside a JSON object variable. So create a variable here, say JSON object. Now we are good to fetch the specific details using the expression with the JSON object. Let me show you an example. So here I will use the assign activity as an example, and what expression we want to write. Let's say that we want to fetch the first center name from this complete response. So here we have multiple of center names. This is the first name. If you scroll a bit down, this is the second name. If you scroll a bit down, this is the third name, and so on. So to fetch this first name, how to fetch that? Let me show you what expression we'll have to provide. So we'll use the variable JSON object, and inside the JSON objects we'll have to start from sessions, since here the node is the sessions. And from here, since we are fetching the first name, so here I will write dot item 0. Since this is the first one, it starts with 0. And what is the name here? Attribute name is name. So I will take the name from here, and inside the brackets I will provide name. Now at the end we'll have to convert it into string. So put a dot and select toString. So our expression is ready. Let's hit on OK, and we'll assign it to a variable, say name. Now let me show you the value of this name inside a message box. So let me add a message box here, and here I will write center name is plus name. And let's save this project, and let me quickly run this one to show you how it works. And my project is running now, and here it says center name is India Today, which is correct. Here the name of the center is India Today. Let's click on OK. So as of now we fetched this first name only from this response. But if you notice here, this sessions is an array of JSON objects. So this one is the first JSON object. If you scroll a bit down, this one is the second JSON object, and so on. And we'll have to fetch the specific details. We'll have to look for the specific details such as name, available capacity dose 1, minimum age limit, and vaccine in all of these JSON objects. That means we'll have to loop through this array of JSON objects to fetch these specific details one by one from all these JSON objects. So how to do that? For that, we'll have to add the activity for each to loop through the array. So here I'm going to add this for each activity, and for each item in our variable JSON object, and inside the brackets I'll provide the sessions as node. So for each item in this JSON object sessions, here also let's change the type argument to link.json object. So for each item in this JSON object, let's fetch these details one by one, for which I'm going to use the assign activity. I'm going to use the multiple assign activity, since we'll have to fetch the specific details, multiple details. So here let's provide the expression in this value. So here I'm going to write item, and inside the brackets our first uh, attribute will be name. So let's provide here name, and let's convert into string. So put a dot and select toString from here. So this expression is going to fetch the value of name one by one as the loop iterates. Let's assign it to the variable name which we have already created. Then let's fetch other details. This time let's fetch item, and inside the brackets I'm going to provide available capacity dose1. So let's provide the value here, and since the value of available capacity dose1 will be an integer, so here I'm going to convert it into integer using the cint function. Let's put the complete expression inside this cint function. Let's click on OK. Let's assign it to a variable. Create a variable, say dose1, and this will be a variable of type int32. So let's select int32 from here. In a similar way, let's fetch other details. This time let me copy this expression from here. This time I'm going to fetch minimum age limit, which will be an integer 2. So this will be the expression, and here I will provide minimum age limit. Let's assign it to a variable, say minimum age limit, which will be a variable of type int32. And the last value which we have to fetch is, let me copy this expression. Then the last value which we have to fetch is vaccine. So let's provide the vaccine here inside the brackets and store it to a variable, say vaccine. So our assignment is ready. We are going to fetch the values of name, dose1, minimum age limit, and vaccine one by one as the loop iterates through this array. Now we are good to add a condition here. What condition we want to add? So the condition is we want to get notifications with name and all other details only when available capacity dose1 is greater than 0, for minimum age limit 45, and vaccine as Covishield. So this condition will have to add in our project to get notifications. So for that I'm going to add the if activity here. So let me add this if activity, and here let's begin to write our condition. First condition will be dose1 greater than 0, put and second condition is minimum age limit equal to 45, and the third condition will be value of vaccine dot contains, and here I'll provide the value as Covishield. So our condition is ready that if dose 1 is greater than 0, minimum age limit equal to 45, and vaccine contains Covishield. So if this condition is true, we want to get email notifications. But before adding the activity for getting the email notifications, let me add a message box to display the values if this condition is true, and inside the text I'm going to provide the message as COVID vaccine appointment availability plus here I will provide environment dot new line plus and here I'll provide center name is, let's provide the center name which is inside the variable name. Then let's provide other details. Let me copy this one. Environment dot new line available dose 1 is, and let's provide the dose 1 variable here and convert it into string. So put a dot and select toString from here. Next I will provide here environment dot new line, then minimum age limit is, and here instead of dose 1 I will provide the variable minimum age limit and will convert it into string, and the last value which we'll have to provide here is vaccine. So here I will provide vaccine type is, and the type of vaccine is stored inside the variable vaccine. So let's select this one. So if the condition is true, this complete message will be displayed with all the details of center name, dose 1, minimum age limit and vaccine. Let's click on OK. Now we are good to send the email notifications for which I'm going to use the activity as send SMTP mail message. Let me add it here. So let's provide the details here. In the two, I'm going to provide email ID. Let's provide the subject as COVID vaccine appointment availability. And in the body, I'm going to provide the similar text which we have provided inside the message box. So let me provide the expression here. Next we'll have to provide few details in the properties. So here we'll have to provide the port and server details of the host. Since I'm going to use the Gmail, so here I will provide the port as 587 and the server as smtp dot gmail.com, and here we'll have to provide the logon email ID and password. So here I'm going to provide the similar email ID which I have used for the two. So I'll provide here email ID and here I'll provide the email password. So with this we have provided all the details inside this send SMTP mail message activity, and with this our project is also ready. Let me quickly go give you a recap of what all we are doing. First of all, we will execute our HTTP request from which we'll get the response. Next, we deserialize that response from JSON string to JSON object. Next, this was an example to fetch a specific detail, but since we'll have to fetch all the details one by one inside this array of JSON object, we have applied a for each activity here. We looped through each item in JSON object sessions and fetched all the details of name, dose 1, minimum age limit and vaccine one by one as the loop iterates. Then we added a condition to check dose 1 greater than 0, minimum age limit equal to 45 and vaccine contains Covishield. So if this condition is true, a message will be displayed which is not mandatory. This is optional just to show you, and then the email will be sent. This email notification will be sent with all these details. So let me quickly run this project to show you how it works. So let's save this one and let's quickly run this project. And my project is running now. This is the just one center name which we displayed in the message box for the example. Let's click on OK. Then the flow moved inside the for each activity and checked for the condition, and since the condition, it found the condition as true, it displayed the message box, and after this message the email notification will be sent. So here we received an message, here we received an error as no such host is known. So let me see what is the error here. So in this activity I have provided the server name as incorrect. Instead of this one it will be smtp.gmail.com. Let's click on OK and let's quickly run this project one more time. So the flow moved to the loop and the condition is satisfied, so this message is displayed and then we should get an email notification. So the email would have been received. I'll show you once the execution is over. Since we are in a loop, we'll receive the message multiple times whenever the conditions will be satisfied. Let's click on OK. This one is the next. And with this, our execution is over. We got the messages and emails as many times this condition was satisfied. Let me quickly show you the email which we received. So if I move to my email ID, let's refresh this one. So these are the multiple emails which I received with the subject COVID vaccine appointment availability. And here it says center name is this one, available dose 1 is 54, minimum age limit 45 and vaccine type as Covishield. So we received this much emails based on the conditions which were true. So this one is the second email, this one is the third email and so on. So in this way you can also create this project to check for COVID vaccine appointment availability. That's all for this session guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a like and share with your friends. Hit the bell button to get the updates on the latest videos. And if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to our channel as well. And I'll see you soon in the next one. Thank you.